Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video we're going to talk about the Turbulent Timeways event and how it has been updated for the War Within expansion, coming in with Season 1 of the War Within. So first let's talk about the basics. The Turbulent Timeways event, for a simple explanation, is back-to-back time walking events every single week over the course of 7 weeks. The events will occur in a set order: Mop to WoD to Legion to Classic to TBC to the Lich King to Cataclysm, and will feature a 50% increase in reputation gains from defeating enemies and completing quests in the set expansion. Not only that, but the time walking dungeons will appear from each expansion. The time walking vendors will be available. Time walking raids from expansions that have them will be available, and most importantly, you will be able to obtain a very special buff during this event called the Master of the Turbulent Timeways. This is a crucial buff to obtaining the special mount, the Timely Buzzbee. So let's talk about the Turbulent Timeways buff, because that is the main aspect of this event. The Turbulent Timeways buff and the mastery of it is crucial towards obtaining the achievement Master of the Turbulent Timeways 2, which upon completion will reward you with the Timely Buzzbee. The buff is very simple to obtain. For every single completion of a time walking dungeon, you will get a stack called the Knowledge of Timeways. This buff will last for a period of 2 hours. The Knowledge of Timeways buff, once you reach 4 of them, so upon completion of 4 time walking dungeons while the buff is active, will convert into a Mastery of Timeways buff. This Mastery of Timeways buff will feature a 30% EXP increase, as well as being up for a total of 3 hours. Now, the really cool thing about this buff, basically, is that once you have obtained the Mastery of Timeways buff, so once you've obtained 4 stacks of Knowledge of Timeways, then the Mastery of Timeways buff can be refreshed per week by just completing 1 time walking dungeon. So as long as you have the buff active, you can log in. So let's say you complete it, you get Mastery of Timeways on your character, you're like, cool, awesome, you log out of that character, log back in next week, you only have to do 1 dungeon to refresh it, and it'll count for that week, because the achievement requires you to maintain the buff over the course of 5 weeks. Of course, if you're dedicated to getting all the rewards and maximizing the event, you'll probably do 4 dungeons a week very easily, but it's more just a thing. So the easiest way to do this would be to get it on 1 character, an alt or someone, and then log in with that character once per week to refresh the buff, and then basically log out and not play that character until the next week. That would keep the buff with you. But there's a ton of other content as well. You get a weekly quest for characters under max level that will give you bonus experience and a little goodie bag with gear. The weekly raid quest for expansions that have time walking raids like TBC, Lich King, and Cataclysm will be available, allowing you to obtain a free chest that will give you a heroic piece of gear for Season 1 of the expansion, which I think is really, really awesome. So that's obviously a bonus, great way to gear up. It will, I believe, also give you Knowledge of the Timeways buff, I think, for every single boss. No, you do not get Knowledge of the Timeways buff for the raids, so you're going to have to just do the raids for the gear. The Knowledge of Timeways buff will only come from heroic dungeon completions or time walking dungeon completions. On top of that as well, you also have the weekly dungeon quest from Dornagal by High Speaker Brinth. You will find Archivist Farron, and you can speak to her to get a free heroic chest piece, that is a heroic level raid piece of gear, by completing 5 time walking dungeons. So really quite easy and simple actually, and a really, really cool way to gear up your character, as the Turbulent Time Walking events, I believe, finishes just before the start of Season 2, so it's a great way to quickly catch up and gear up your character and maybe fill out those slots you need. You then have the relic quests, the usual time walking relic quests. These are available every single week while they are doing this event, so it's a great way to stack up on time walked coins as well. So obviously these are standard time walking quests, but I want to mention them because obviously they're refreshing so quickly and back to back to back that you'll be able to claim quite a few time walk badges from those relics, and those relics drop from time walking dungeons and the bosses that you defeat. On top of that as well, we have the actual time walking vendors. So every expansion, when it's active, will have its time walking vendor available, which will feature whichever mounts they usually have, along with their transmog, their gear, their heirloom, etc. But also you'll be able to buy the Sandy Shellwing, which was the mount from the previous Turbulent Timeways event. It will cost you 5,000 time walking badges, but it is obviously a really nice way to just grab that mount if you were unfortunate enough not to be playing during that time, or you didn't manage to get him during that time. Of course, you can also get heirloom gear, transmog, toys, pets, the other mounts, etc. And if you're really participating in the event, getting a lot of time warp badges is not too hard. And speaking of that, let's talk about the other little bonus things that you can do during this time period to take advantage of the event. Well, the first one isn't really that big an advantage. Gearing through the dungeons is not suggestible. It's not really something to do, but going through the dungeons is very quick. So if you're someone who's potentially looking to pick up certain items, you can obviously do that, but one of the main things is the Infinite Time Reaver. This is a mount that drops from dungeon bosses only, so spamming dungeons is going to give you a chance to get this incredibly rare mount. Next we have Time Warp badges. This is self-explanatory, but between the relic quests, defeating the bosses, and the dungeon bonuses, getting Time Warp badges you should be able to farm quite a lot of, especially if you're running the weekly on multiple alts. I got like 150 just doing this video, so that was really good. Then on top of that as well, of course, is leveling your character. Your character will have a standard buff from how many max level characters you have, but the 30% EXP buff stacks with that, plus with whatever other EXP buffs you have, including, for example, the Dark Moon Fair. So it's a great time to level your characters and obviously try and push for your characters to hit max level. But that's it from me, and should cover everything you need to know about the Turbulent Timeways. If you have any questions, please ask me in the comments down below, but I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care and bye.